5, Zach Mendoza coming away with it. Now passing it on ahead to Nick Hiller, who drops it back again to Mendoza before a whistle's blown. Looks like it will be going in the favor of UNLV.
That was a solid ride by UNLV right there. They managed to get the ball back after ASU's defense took it away from them. But it looks like there might have been a horn called for, as the UNLV is making a substitution right now.
And passing it in for UNLV was number 8, Brandon Edgell, one of the older, more experienced players on this team. Yep. He's a sophomore right now, but he's been around for quite some time and was actually playing the last time these two teams met in 2010. He's been one of the highest offensive contributors in the SLC all season long.
Yep. Edgell's had a big impact on UNLV this season. He actually leads the team in assists at, I believe, 16.
And he's also 4th in the SLC with points, has 3.5 points per game on the season. ASU does retain possession, now trying to head back across midfield for the first time all game before it's stripped away, and now heading back the other way are the Rebels, and working his way inside with a shot attempt was number 18, Mitch Montellano. And now ASU finally able to get it into their offensive zone, as that's number 17, Logan Quinn, working it inside, and now it's going around the horn as these players finally starting to set up this offense. A whistle blown, though, and the Rebels are going to take over now. And so far, this has been a lot of UNLV's possession. ASU only had the ball for a couple times so far in these opening minutes, Brian.
Yeah, I'm not too sure what's going on with them right now. I mean, they lost the ball when they tried clearing it, and then some penalty of some sort happened right there. Didn't quite have a chance to get anything going.
And Nick Peterson drops it over to his right man, Eric Jones. And UNLV setting up their spread offense. Now back up top to Peterson, who again looks over to Jones, trying to make a move on a defender, can't do so. Drops it down for Nick Campo. And Campo also a huge contributor, and he's actually 3rd in the SLC with 3.6 points per game. And now in the corner, Jones getting it away. And UNLV starting to play a little more patiently after a pretty fast opening couple of minutes.
UNLV seems to be lurking a nice 2-3 offense right here. They got 2 guys up top, 3 in the middle, 1 sitting right in front of the crease, and then a man back at X.
And number 8, Brandon Edgell, looked like he was threatening to drive, instead pulled it back out. And now with it, Eric Jones makes a move, fires! But Dylan Westfall coming up with his first save of the day, and that was a big one.
Yeah, Westfall's been doing that all season long. He's registered a pretty good save percentage.
And now ASU on the other end. Sorry to cut you off there, Brian. Trying to set up their offense once more.
Yeah, no, Westfall's had a pretty good season so far. He's only allowing just over 6 goals a game, keeping ASU in pretty much all of their contests.
And also, he's 1st in the SLC with 32 ground balls among all goalies. He's at the number 1 spot, and that's an important stat when you think about it, to pick up loose change around the crease.
Yeah, it definitely helps up, gets ASU that possession back, lets them get something going on offense again.
And now Ben Davis in the far right corner, dropping it down below. Now it's back up top. We're trying to lay a move as Logan Quinn. He lost the ball, but it was picked up by his teammate. And now the ball is loose. Coming away with it is the Sun Devils, though, as Justin Straker picks it up in the corner.
That was good work by the Sun Devils there to maintain that possession.
And Payson Clark from behind the net finds his man who fires on net, and that was number 13, Zach Scarano. But it won't go. However, it will stay in ASU's possession.
And making the starting goal for UNLV today is Matt Smith, sophomore. He actually hasn't been getting quite much playing time. There is their usual starter, Dustin Sylvia. So it's interesting to see him in there right now.
And now working his way inside for the Sun Devils was Ben Martinick, before dropping it down low to Payson Clark. Now back up to Martinick, trying to lay a move on his defender. Does do so, fires a shot, and it's almost in, but good awareness there in net by Matt Smith to scoop it up.
All right, and Smith has a good pass right there to get the clear going. And UNLV is settling back in on offense again.
And with it right now is Nick Peterson, waiting for his team to regroup a little, passing it over to Jordan Grant. Now with it, Brandon Edgell, trying to work his way inside, instead drops it back up top.
Yep, so far I've just seen a lot of ball control so far, not too much aggressiveness, although both teams have taken their shots.
Nick Campo trying to find a man, finally does, and that's Stephen Herman in the near left side. Now working his way inside is Herman before he decides to pitch it back out. We're under 10 minutes to play in this first quarter. Couple shots fired already, and here's another one right there, and that's a goal. Nick Peterson from the far top right, firing it home on Dylan Westfall.
Yeah, Westfall didn't have much chance there. That one was a nice solid strike. Good ball move by UNLV. They managed to hit that top left corner. Just went in right past him.
And UNLV now with a 1-0 lead over the Sun Devils, as now lining up for the face-off once more is number 44, Zach Handy for the Devils, and number 88, or 99 rather, Harrison Kruger for the Rebels. Finally, ASU coming away with the loose change in their own offensive zone, trying to regain their momentum after giving up that first goal of the game, as Payson Clark's going to set up behind the net.
ASU is just delaying a little bit here, trying to get their offense set up again. Now they got their guys back on the field.
Ben Davis looking up top to Cooper Pickell. Very patient style right now from the Sun Devils. In case you're just joining us, ASU Sun Devils in gold. The UNLV Rebels are in white. The Rebels currently leading this one 1-0. And here's a pass, and that one's up to Cooper Pickell. Looks down low, and a shot fired on a strong windup there. And that was number 31, Kyle Dennis, looking for the goal.
Yep, shot was just a little bit high, but ASU managed to keep possession.
And that first goal for the Rebels again was scored by Nick Peterson with just over 9 minutes to play. And now again, Kyle Dennis trying to work his way inside, instead passes it off. Now it's working its way back up top. Back to Dennis. Almost took another one. Instead drops it low, and a shot fired. This one's going to land on the side of the net, though. A good look from Payson Clark, though. And now up top, a shot fired again that wouldn't get through the crowd in front of the net. And finally coming away with it was Matt Smith. The initial shot there was fired from Cooper Pickell about 15 feet from the net.
Yeah, that was a good offensive series by ASU there. They just didn't quite have a chance to get the shots off right. Men standing in front of it all kept them from scoring.
And Zach Mendoza coming away with a big steal there, as Dylan Westfall now with it. And looking for a deep pass, is able to connect with his man. And that was Payson Clark. Now in the ASU offensive zone, looking inside, but it's broken up. Good stick D by the UNLV Rebels right there to close out in the crease. Looks like the ref is going to call this in UNLV's favor. So pitching it in is going to be Jordan Grant for the Rebels.
The Devils going to go ahead and try and double team him right here. He's probably going to have an easy pass to get it started, though.
Looks like he's trying to work the double team instead, and is able to do so with some ease, and make some move right there at about midfield. And that was over defender Will Spetter. And he still got it.
That was a solid drive by him right there. He just took it right up the middle and just kept running. Nobody was able to put a body on him, and he's still going.
Jordan Grant, what aggressiveness when you can take it from coast to coast, just like he did right there. Faced about 5 ASU defenders along the way. But now UNLV is going to set back up after the nice drive from Grant. Got it into the offensive zone. Harrison Kruger now with it. Passes it over, still at the top to teammate Nick Peterson. And now Kruger with it, looking low, but the shot was just a bit off to the right. However, UNLV is able to hold on to the ball here. Is now Kruger again with it. And trying to make a move up at the top, Stephen Herman. The Rebels just working it around. Herman continues to work against Joseph Cosgrove of the Devils. But good defense there, holding up. And now trying to work his way inside Nick Campo, but he's bounced around as well.
Yeah, he met a stonewall right there against Ian Connell. Didn't allow him anywhere near the crease.
And the Rebels now trying to continue their offensive work as number 8, Brandon Edgell, gets it up to Kruger, now across the way to Peterson. And they're setting back up yet again as Stephen Herman with it. Herman to Peterson. Peterson has 1 goal in the day already. Drops it down to Kruger. And now looking inside is Herman. Can't quite get through. And ASU's defenders are holding up quite well here. Shot fired there. But nothing would come of that. Dylan Westfall again playing a nice job in net, as he has all season long.
And that was a good fast break opportunity for ASU right there. Unfortunately, a bad pass ended it pretty quickly. But now they're going to go and have a chance here to set up on offense again, take another shot to tie this game up with just under 5 minutes to play in the first quarter.
And the Rebels have done a good job so far of upsetting this ASU offense. Can't seem to get much going. They're trying to work it around, but UNLV doing a strong job of breaking it up so far in the day. Ben Martinick gets it up top to Justin Straker. Now over to the side where a shot is fired just off the post. Wow. And there's a goal. Will Spetter just worked his way into the crease as everyone was focused on the rebound and found the goal. ASU ties it up 1-1.
That was a great feed to the inside from Ben Martinick. He got the rebound after it bounced off the goalpost from that previous shot. It was just great quick work by ASU. Matt Smith back in goal there didn't have much of a chance. The ball was just bouncing around everywhere on him. He didn't quite know where to look. Now we got them lining up for the faceoff once again. It's Zach Handy and Harrison Kruger.
And Will Spetter doing a good job of utilizing the ground to get a bounce shot going there and really throw Matt Smith off guard, because he probably would have had the save. He was in the right position to take a shot directly. But a smart move by Will Spetter, and this game is tied 1-1, just under 4 minutes to play. But UNLV was able to win the ensuing face-off, and now with it, Kruger up top for the Rebels. Going to drop it off to Grant. And now the Rebels trying to set up a bit. Has taken a bit of a slip there. Was number 6 rather, Dakota Barracks. But he was able to regain his composure, and the Rebels still have it. On the far side there, Eric Jones trying to work past his man. That's number 11, Nick Hillier. And now Dakota Barracks firing, but Dylan Westfall is able to come up with it. Wasn't quite on net, just a bit off to the left.
That was good by Westfall there to make sure he got the pass, that he got the ball so that it didn't go behind and give UNLV a chance to maintain possession.
And now Westfall trying to set up the offense, looking for another deep pass. Westfall's known for that, as he tends to fire passes at will from the farthest points in the field. Westfall's also the only goalie in the SLC with a goal in this season, so that's also a pretty impressive stat when you look at it. He can contribute on both ends, if you could say.
Well, when you're a goalie, it definitely helps if you're able to take it down coast to coast and give your offense that kind of help.
And Quinn firing a shot, but this one's going to bounce over the net and out of play. Now the Sun Devils will have possession after they won the chase down. In the far corner, that's Payson Clark taking it in for the Devils, working against defender Turner Kruger. And Clark weaving his way all the way around before he's wrapped up. And that was some solid defense there by Eric Jones.
Yeah, but Jones definitely got him in the head right there, and the ref saw it too. They threw the flag. Jones probably going to have a 1 minute, maybe 2 minute penalty right here. And ASU brings in a few new guys, set up this man-up offensive play right here.
And this could be a big offensive opportunity for the Sun Devils, as this game still is tied 1-1. 2 minutes to play in the first quarter of action. And now working their way around are the Devils on this man-up situation. Ben Davis up to Martinek and across to Quinn. And they're just working it around. And here's Quinn firing. Nice save there, though, by Matt Smith. And now coming away with it are the Rebels. Loose ball, but they do retain it. And he's trucked there as, again, Payson Clark coming away with it. Couldn't get it quite in time. UNLV did have time to regroup. And now the Sun Devils will set up their offense once more. Fired and scored by Payson Clark. The assist going to Logan Quinn with just under a minute and a half to play. And the Sun Devils lead it 2-1.
Yeah, that was great work by the Sun Devils there to make quick work and good use of that man-up opportunity. After losing the ball, Payson Clark and crew managed to get that ball back. Logan Quinn found Payson Clark coming around, and Clark took advantage of that and scored, putting ASU in the lead 2-1 with a minute 22 left. As we got Harrison Kruger and Zach Handy lining up to take the face-off again.
And Handy does come away with it. Now racing to the other end of the field. As another shot fired and scored yet again. This time it's number 15, Cooper Piquel, taking the early shot off the face-off win. And all soon enough, the Devils are up 3-1 at the end of this period. Still over a minute to play, though.
Yeah, that was good, quick work right there by Zach Handy. He won the face-off. He drove right out the field. He got the pass off to Cooper. I don't think he's going to get marked with the assist right there, because it looked like Cooper might have put a move on the player, taking away that assist opportunity. But it was a great play nonetheless by Handy.
Well, and it's interesting, Brian, because in that Colorado game, we saw Zach Handy in a clutch moment take the ball from the face-off win all the way to the other end and score his first and only goal of the season, which ended up nearly completing the comeback for the Sun Devils.
Yeah, that was a huge play right there. Had the crowd going that day.
And a pass inside. What offense right there. The pass to Nick Campo from the other end of the field. Nothing that Dylan Westfall could have done. Just a great offensive setup right there. And this game's now right back in at 3-2. The Sun Devils leading the Rebels.
Westfall was tracking the ball in front of him. He just didn't have an opportunity to pay attention to the guy coming in from behind him. Campo took advantage. Everybody saw it. And that was a great sneak by him to go ahead and close this deficit a little bit.
Well, and Campo, the senior, one of the leaders on this Rebel offense, an attackman with 12 goals on the season and 6 assists, and that'll make it 13 goals for him, as we now have a 1-goal game on our hands yet again, and the Devils look to set up in their own offensive end.
Absolutely interesting what they do here with the last 20 seconds of this quarter.
With it down low is number 3, Will Spetter, and he's working it up, and it makes its way across to Cooper Piquel, who actually had the goal for the Devils. Logan Quinn firing, but that one's not going to be on target.
That was good work by Piquel there, making that pass inside.
Only 4 seconds left. Devils going to need a shot fast. They won't get it off, and that'll bring this quarter to an end. And through 1 quarter of play, the score 3-2. The Sun Devils leading the UNLV Rebels here at the ASU women's soccer field.
That was a pretty exciting first quarter right there, Trey. Lots of scoring, lots of offense, good shots by both teams.
Well, and interestingly enough, most of the scoring, Brian, came in the final couple minutes of that one as it's exploded back and forth in the span of half a minute maybe. We saw 3 goals, 2 of which were from the Devils and 1 for the Rebels.
Lots of quick work by both teams, making this an interesting game so far through 1.
And you can't say it's too surprising to have seen Nick Campo on the scoreboard already. The guy's 3rd in the SLC with 3.6 points per game, and he's also, back in 2010, he was number 1 in points per game in the SLC for that entire season, so also an impressive stat there. But we're going to call it to a quick break here between the quarters, and we'll be back for the second quarter of action. You're listening to ASU Lacrosse on Ustream.tv.
All right, and we're back in the second quarter. Zach Candy winning quick face-off, and they're making some quick work right here to start off the quarter, but they lose the ball, but they manage to pick it back up as they work the ball around. All right, ASU's going ahead, set up their offense, making a quick few substitutions. As number 17, Logan Quinn, controls the ball in the top left corner. They're moving the ball around now, getting a few more substitutions going. Ben Martinick's up top with the ball. And he passes it over to Zach Scarano as he looks down to Quinn, who could have had a shot there but decided to turn back and look to pass up top. Ben Martinick's going to make a drive from the right. Turns back out, and he comes back in, pass up top to Quinn, and the shot is deflected off another player.
And good defensive work there from the Rebels, as that was number 22 for the UNLV team, Trace Persy, with a fist pump right there after a strong defensive play that's going to give the Rebels possession. Looks like number 2 down in the corner, Nick Peterson's going to take it, dropping it off to goalie Matt Smith, and now they're finally starting to work their way up. Jordan Grant putting a truck on another ASU player. We've seen him do it quite a bit so far today. This time doing some work on Ben Martinick at about midfield.
Jordan Grant really likes taking advantage of his athleticism when he's making those clears. Just puts his body down. He gets low. He likes to hit. He's fun to watch, taking on several defenders all at once.
He's quite a big boy. A freshman, Midi, played in 8 games so far this season. All 8 games for the UNLV Rebels. And now with it for the Rebels, Peterson firing on net for another goal on the day. And this game is tied 3-3, just over 13 minutes to play in the second quarter.
That was a solid shot by Peterson there. He managed to get nice clear space, take a nice wind up. He put the ball on the ground. It just, Westfall wasn't able to get his stick in front of it, allowing UNLV to tie up the game here with 13 minutes to play in the second quarter.
And Nick Peterson's been very evident on the offensive end for the UNLV Rebels, and he's just tied the game up. He actually scored the initial goal for the Rebels in this one to take a 1-0 lead, and now accounts for their 3rd as well. But the Devils do win the face-off, and now Dylan Westfall with it. And pitching it over to his man on the right end, now back to Westfall. ASU working very slow and methodically here as UNLV is trying to force a turnover, and rushed is Westfall. Coming away with it, but was handy just in time.
Yeah, tough ride by UNLV there. Forced ASU to kind of throw the ball across the line to get the clear completed before time ran out.
Justin Straker takes it all the way into the corner for ASU. And a big-time recovery there by Zach Handy at midfield. If that one had been turned over, Brian, you would have seen some numbers for UNLV heading back the other way.
Yeah, no, if UNLV managed to get the ball right there, that would have been nasty situation for Westfall back at goal. They would have had a clear run one-on-one with him. Could have ended up giving UNLV the lead there.
Logan Quinn drops it across to Zach Scarano. Now behind the net to Payson Clark. Working his way around the crease, but he's met by two UNLV defenders. Does fire a shot, though.
Good leg save right there by Matt Smith. Keeps the game tied up.
Now Clark with it again, laying another move, but good solid defense work there. Now Logan Quinn firing, and that one was high above that net and goes out of play. But the Devils still have it, as behind the net was Zach Scarano in position.
I liked what ASU did right there to try and get a quick goal. They set up a double pick. Unfortunately, UNLV men managed to get in there quick enough and stop them from getting a shot opportunity. And ASU, with a bad pass, loses the ball.
And that's going to result in a turnover as the Rebels will take over. Number 99, Harrison Kruger with it. As again, ASU going to show that double team. He's going to drop it off to who looks like Jordan Grant. Remember the last time they tried to double team this guy, he just worked his way through him and all the way to cross to the other end of the field.
And Grant's going to go ahead and try and do it again, but he meets a little bit more resistance, but he still makes it through after three ASU players take shots at him.
Jordan Grant is a machine. The guy's working through every defensive setup this team is throwing at him. But now UNLV is going to set up on the other end and kind of slow things up. However, if you look at Grant and how impressive he's played, how many offensive chances has he given them that any other player would have been met at midfield and had the ball taken away from him?
Yeah, but it's definitely a huge asset when you're able to get those clears as easily as Grant is right now. Usually a team like ASU has been today needs to work the ball around and finds openings, but Grant just runs up the field with little to no resistance.
And Peterson dropping it off to Jones, tries to lay a move on Cooper Piquel. Can't do so, though, as he's going to work his way back into the corner. Now with it behind the net for UNLV is number 18, Mitch Monolano. And now an awkward shot fired there. Nearly went in, though. And a nice move around the other side of the net. Number 60, Cody Root working his way inside. Now Dylan Westfall is going to chase the loose ball. And if Nick Campo, he can't make the move, though. If he'd been able to, would have had an open net with no goalie in it. However, now for the Devils, it's John Little working its way up to Zach Mendoza. At midfield now, and the offense is going to take over for ASU. Score still 3-3, under 10 minutes to play in the second quarter of action.
Yep, so far this quarter's been all UNLV with that quick goal right after the face-off.
And Logan Quinn calling out a play of some sort as he holds the ball just outside the offensive zone for the Devils.
Yeah, everyone's going low. Looks like he's going to want to take a shot at this on his own. Got four men lining up right across the crease. Expect some cuts real quickly right here.
And he falls early as Nick Peterson was awaiting.
Yeah, but they're going to set it right back up again and go for it.
And Quinn working around Peterson, trying to get inside. But good job of Peterson to nudge him out and make sure he couldn't penetrate there. Now back up top to Ben Martinick, who also is going to pull back. Seemed to be pulling the same play that Logan Quinn was just a moment ago. And now he's trying to work his way inside. Drops it low. And that's number 13, Zach Scarano, coming away with it.
And once again, it looks like they're going to set up this isolation play. He brings it up top, and he's going to go ahead and make his break.
And Eric Jones on defense here. Now looking inside, almost bounced his way through a couple legs there. But a good job of breaking that up by goalie Matt Smith. And a quick turnover. ASU now with it. Shot fired. And Smith with a big-time save there.
Yeah, after that first bad pass by Martinick, Smith managed to come up with it, but then he fired a bad pass to his own player, allowing ASU to come right back up with it, another opportunity. And then Smith made, once again, another big save to keep this game tied up with 7:42 left to play in the second.
And Ben Martinick rushed him in the crease, and you can't do that, can't cross that circle. So that'll result in a turnover, and now the Rebels are heading back the other way as number 13, Turner Kruger, gets it off to Nick Campo. Campo at midfield, met by a crowd of Devils, and he's weaving on and in and out of the defensive zone, as now finally working its way ahead is the UNLV Rebels before a whistle's blown.
Timeout, UNLV. Or maybe that is ASU right there. Directed towards the ASU's goal.
And UNLV, just right now, you can see the difference in these two teams, as the Devils have a good 40 or so players on their team, whereas the Rebels are only looking with 18 guys. Not a very deep team, but they work with what they have, and they do have quite a bit of talent on that offensive end, with Nick Peterson there, Brandon Edgell, Cody Root, and Nick Campo really working the ball well all season long.
Yeah, they have some solid offensive players. Brandon Edgell with his 16 assists, or 15, I believe, actually. Cody Root's leading the team in goals scored, and he's actually averaging 3.1 points a game. Brandon Edgell, on the other hand, is averaging 3.5 points a game. And then Nick Campo with another 3.6, so they obviously have three big offensive players right there contributing to this UNLV offense.
And what's funny about those names you just brought up there, Brian, is the fact that a lot of those names can be seen from all the way back to the 2010 UNLV roster, where we played against the Devils. Brandon Edgell had 1 point in that game. Cody Root with 3, had 2 goals to his own name, and then Nick Campo had 2 points himself. So you've seen a lot of familiar names here as they've tried to keep together the same unit of guys. And clearly they're doing something right. And right now this game is all tied up, despite the difference in numbers on that bench. 3-3 between the Devils and the Rebels.
All right, now the timeout's coming to an end, and they're looking to resume play with UNLV on offense.
And on the far end is number 15, Bryce Griffiths with it. And he works it around. Finds its way down to Edgell. And UNLV just trying to work it around, looking for that open gap they can penetrate through. They've been relatively successful at that in this game.
UNLV is working 3-man top and actually loses the ball right there, giving the ball back to ASU with Westfall picking up the ground ball.
And that was Brandon Edgell trying to lay a move there. And right near midfield, number 11 for the Devils, that's Nick Hillier, was trucked by 2 Rebels and coughed up the ball. Now back in the possession of UNLV with just over 6.5 to play in this first half.
Yeah, that was a poor pass decision by Westfall, giving it to Hillier because he didn't have much of a chance.
And what a play designed right there. Just wasn't good enough. The pass just a bit too high for his man. And that was Brandon Edgell looking across for Nick Campo, is cutting in the inside. But it's just a bit too high for him. And you got to think, if they'd gotten that one off, it would have been a 4-3 game, would have changed everything. But now, still at a tie, and now the Sun Devils with the ball.
Yep, had that pass been completed, there was a big open space right behind Westfall. That one probably would have gone in had that pass been completed.
And those cross-crease passes from the Rebels, we've seen it quite a bit today. We saw a goal on one of them, though. Clearly the style of offense they like to run with as much talent as they have on the offensive end. However, they're playing against a feisty defense on this ASU roster. Also happens to be pretty feisty on the offensive end as well, as they set up. Now behind the net, Payson Clark firing, and he scores on the feed from his man behind the net. And that was number 8, Justin Straker, getting the assist. The Sun Devils now lead it 4-3 with just under 6 minutes to play.
Yeah, that was great work by Straker setting up the play right there. He got the pass back at X, and then he worked his way, forced a man to come and pick him up, allowing that easy feed right to Payson Clark, allowing for that quick goal.
Payson Clark, the junior midfielder, has some pretty solid numbers on the year so far. Actually looking with 11 goals, 8 assists. Why don't we make that 12 goals now? And that'll give him 20 total points on the year.
And after the face-off right there, UNLV is going to come up with the ball as they set up their offense. Already getting their substitutions all the way through.
And Harrison Kruger had it. Drops it down low behind the net to Brandon Edgell. And Brian, let's take a moment to acknowledge number 50 for the Devils. He's been one of their most solid contributors, and that's Ian Connell, as he tends to lock down the opposing team's most offensive player, currently guarding Nick Campo, a huge threat on the offensive end for the Rebels. We saw him do it again against Colorado when Riley Seidel came to town, and he did a good job of shutting him down when the game came down to the fourth quarter there.
Yeah, he didn't have too much success in those first 3 quarters, though, giving Seidel that hat trick. But when he locked him down, ASU managed to try and make that comeback. He's doing a good job so far today, keeping Campo off the scoreboard for the most part.
And the Rebels do score there. A flag thrown, though.
Yeah, that's going to go ahead and be a helmet check on the Sun Devils, so the goal is going to be good, tying up the game, and UNLV is going to come away with the ball. No face-off needed because of the penalty, and there'll be a man up.
So we've got a tie game on our hands. 4.5 minutes left to play.
All right, that's my mistake there. There actually will still be a face-off, but
and it looks like lining up for that face-off is again going to be Zach Handy and Harrison Kruger.
Yeah, but ASU is also lining up a 1 man down.
And Handy's able to win it to his own end, and he scoops it up after it's loose and tripped up, but still gets it to Cooper Piquel. Now working back the other way, the Sun Devils set up their offense. This is Payson Clark, and a whistle was blown. Looked almost like he had the defense caught off guard there for a moment. However, it looks like a timeout was called by ASU. So, Brian, with a tie game on our hands, who do you think the edge goes to as far as the in-net play is gone? We've seen some strong plays from Matt Smith. Clearly, Dylan Westfall is a bit more proven, has a lot more experience as a senior on this ASU roster, whereas Matt Smith, only a sophomore for the Rebels. So far in this game, what do you think you've seen from these goaltenders?
So far, I've been a little bit more impressed with Matt Smith. I think Westfall's caught a couple breaks, especially since UNLV's missed a couple of good feeds. Smith's had some pretty clutch saves so far up into the game. Also on that last goal there, I'm pretty sure that was Connor White receiving the feed from Brandon Edgell, but don't take my word on that right now. I'm not quite sure on that. Missed it myself. But yeah, it's been solid work by both goals. They both had some good saves, but I'm going to go and give the edge to Matt Smith.
Well, experience isn't always going to benefit you in net, but Dylan Westfall in a tie game here, I think I'd take him going down the stretch. We'll see how it works out, though. As so far, the scoring rundown for the Rebels is Nick Peterson, Nick Campo, and then Nick Peterson again. And as far as that fourth goal, wasn't able to get my eye on that one. Not sure exactly who came away with it. And for the Devils, we've seen Will Spetter, Payson Clark, Cooper Piquel, and Logan Quinn coming away with goals. And to see that spread of a scoring offense so far for the Devils is pretty shocking. Tend to rely on a few offensive attackers throughout their games.
Well, although the scoring has been low spread out for ASU, they don't really, throughout the season, they haven't had a primary goal scorer. They do have a few guys like Rockney Rep who've done a lot of scoring, but there's a lot of players for ASU that are taking shots and taking advantage of what they get.
And it's interesting you bring up Rockney Rep because we really haven't seen much of him so far in this game. Not sure if he's just sitting this one out or if he may be injured. Not sure exactly what the story is behind that, but you'd think as the game's leading or the team's leading scorer that he'd be seeing a lot of time coming into the final stretch of the season. They're going to need to come away with 2 wins in their final 2 games if they want to get a bye in the first round of the SLC tournament, which is going to be huge for this ASU team.
Yeah, no, you're definitely right. I haven't seen Rockney Rep at all this game. He usually runs X, but it's been a lot of Justin Straker back there throughout today's game, this first half.
But another timeout on the field as UNLV is going to opt to take this one. 3.5 minutes to play. Score still tied 4-4 between the ASU Sun Devils and the UNLV Rebels. The Rebels are in white, Sun Devils in gold. But you look at these season matchups for these two teams. The Devils have been playing a tough schedule, and at 7-5, they're still ranked number 7 in the country as of April 10th in the most recent polls, and they're 2-0 in conference. So, Brian, they're still looking in good position to make a postseason run as they have the past couple of years. In fact, we were just talking about it before the game. Made it to the championship game last year against BYU, who they also played just 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, no, they've actually made the championship game past 2 years in a row. Portland, like you said, lost it last year to BYU, who they just recently lost to. Of course, BYU is only 11-1 on the season, so clearly having a great year.
And Nick Campo working his way up to Eric Jones coming out of the timeout as the Rebels getting their offense set up once more, looking to take the lead on this possession. Now it looks like they're going to play a little game of isolation, switching it around on the Sun Devils. And a misdirected pass there was easily picked off by Ben Martinick, who's heading all the way back the other way into the offensive zone.
It looked like they might have had a chance for a fast break there, but the UNLV players managed to keep up with them. ASU selling the ball down and setting up their offense, making a few substitutions, including Martinick, who just had that interceptions coming out the field.
And Kyle Dennis now with it. Also a very big offensive attacker, actually a midfielder by position. We've seen him a lot in the offensive end, though. And he'll drop it down to his man on the left side. That's number 14, A.J. Schaffner. A little speedy guy as he works his way inside, now pulling back out. And ASU calling a couple interesting offensive plays over the past series of possessions.
Yeah, they ran a few of those isolations. Now they're working from the side here rather than the top like they usually do.
A very interesting style. Seems like they're trying to throw off this Rebel defense. Shot fired there, but it's off target. And that was from Ben Davis working his way inside from behind the net. Now the Rebels head back the other way as this is number 16, Cody Root with it. Looks up top to Jordan Grant.
There's only a minute 45 left in the second quarter to get the game tied up. So we're going to see what they can do, maybe get the edge going into the half here on these last couple possessions.
Oh, the next goal scored would be huge for either team if it happens in this half. As UNLV trying to ensure it'll be theirs.
Yeah, being very patient, trying to make sure that they get the last opportunity, not going to allow ASU to try and get the lead going into the half, working the ball around.
Now on the far end, working his way inside with the pass across, but it won't get through as Nick Campo's shot just a bit off target to the left side. Now Dylan Westfall coming away with it and working its way ahead to number 31. We're under a minute to play here as the Devils do have possession in a tie game, 4-4. Seems like we're going to get another timeout for ASU. And you can tell that Coach Chris Malone has been trying to work some different offensive strategies here, as we've seen a lot of different setups in this game so far, and he's probably going to try to pull out a new one out of his hat to try to take the lead with 54 seconds left in the half.
Now, with the game tied up in just under a minute, they're going to need to try and do something, get the lead right here going into the half. ASU struggled a couple times, but they're definitely looking like they could get something right here. We'll see what Malone comes out with. Maybe change a few personnel, just give someone else a chance to control that ball and get that shot off.
And the head coaches for both teams, Chris Malone for the Sun Devils and Darren Gagnon for the UNLV Rebels. And, you know, you look at the difference in rosters. You also look at the difference in school size. ASU sporting 70,000 students, whereas UNLV only with 28,000. That could probably make a difference. You have less to pick and choose from. And you can see the difference right there between the two huddles. However, UNLV's done a great job of holding their own so far in this matchup, seeing in the size difference in this one. And as you said earlier, Brian, this is going to close out their Arizona road trip. And that's a tough trip to take. U of A leading the SLC South. Grand Canyon right after that, just a day later. And then you have to take on the 7th-ranked team in the country a day after that. So they must be exhausted, but they're doing a great job of hiding it and keeping up in this one as they've held on to the game 4-4 against the Devils this entire time. This first half nearly coming to an end as the Devils are going to try to take that lead. From behind the net, it's number 13, Zach Scarano. And a misdirected pass from behind the net. And this is going in UNLV's possession, hurrying it up with only half a minute to play as number 4, Colin McManus, rather number 4, Connor White, sorry, reading off the wrong roster there, is going to pitch it inside. Nick Peterson taking it up from the top. Just a little bit of time to work with here as Nick Campo down low. Now Peterson trying to lay a move. Does get pretty close, but he'll pull back, looking inside to Jordan Grant, who has an opening, and he fires. And a nice tip there by Dylan Westfall. There's 7 seconds left to play for the Rebels in their own offensive zone. And the shot inside is going to fly wide over the head of Jordan Grant. That's going to bring this quarter to a close, and it'll end the first half. So, Brian, in this first half of play, we've seen quite a bit of offense from both teams. 8 total goals, 4 apiece, and it's been a nail-biter so far.
Yeah, it's been a pretty sick hiding game, Trey. Both teams coming out hot, showing off what they got. They're shooting well. Goalies are both playing well, making some good saves. It's an exciting game so far going into the half here.
And, you know, we talked about Zach Handy, their face-off specialist before the game. He's a freshman. He's been taking the majority of their face-offs on the season coming into this game. He was 122 of 180. That's an outstanding ratio when you think about it. And that's going to be a huge factor in this game because we've seen a lot of face-off wins result in some offensive momentum for each team, as we've seen at least 3 goals scored straight off the face-off for these teams. And if that's the way they're going to have to play it, they're going to have to hope that they can win their face-offs. And that's all starts with guys like Zach Handy for the Devils and Harrison Kruger for the Rebels.
Yeah, being able to get those possessions, give your team a chance to score, it's a huge, huge part, and that's why they have guys that do just face-offs.
Well, we're going to take a break right now. We got about 4.5 minutes left in halftime, and we'll be back for the second half of action, or rather 9.5 minutes. I was corrected there. So it'll be about a 10-minute break. Grab yourself a drink, grab yourself some lunch, whatever it takes, but come right back for the second half of action. It's been an exciting one so far, and it'll continue to be so as a 4-4 game right now between the Devils and Rebels is at half. You're listening to ASU Lacrosse, presented to you by the WCBO.
All right, and welcome back to the Arizona State women's soccer fields as we have our second half starting up between ASU and UNLV. Scores tied up 4-4. As we've seen a lot of big plays here for both teams. And coming out the gate here, ASU won the face-off, but UNLV is going to get the ball right away after they lost the ball through a bad pass out of bounds.
And now going from right to left, the UNLV offense, whereas the ASU Sun Devils in gold will be going left to right for their offense. In the opening seconds already featured a turnover, and there's another one. As coming away with it was Dylan Westfall. And a nice steal there by Zach Mendoza on the defensive end. Now Mendoza with it from the pass from Westfall. And Logan Quinn now at midfield. He's got a converging of defenders, drops it off to the left. And Payson Clark now with it, and a shot attempt broken up. Nice defensive work there from Turner Kruger. And now another misintended pass is heading all the way back, where Dylan Westfall is able to scoop it up. Some tough defense there, though, by Nick Campo. As now Zach Mendoza as a feisty defender to work with. And the Rebels have been doing a good job of getting as much pressure on this ASU offense as they possibly can, especially in the backfield.
Yeah, lots of rides, lots of hard rides by UNLV, forcing bad passes like we just saw right there. It's making life tough for the Devils right here when they're trying to clear the ball.
And there you saw another turnover as Ian Anderson wasn't able to scoop that one up. So now Jordan Grant going to take it in for the Rebels. Again, two defenders on him. And let's see if he can work past him. He does. Now going to be met by one.
Once again, he gets right through him. He was met by four defenders, three at one time at the point there, and still gets the clear.
Cooper Piquel, though, was able to stop him just inside the face-off circle.
Had to see Jordan Grant right there. He had to take a quick look, make sure he didn't lose the ball. Wasn't sure if it was still in the head of his stick or not.
And now for the Rebels, Nick Peterson working it around the net, gets it over to Harrison Kruger, who is looking for a low shot. Instead, passes on it, gets it up to Grant, and now back down over to Peterson. And now down to Cody Root. We haven't seen much from Root, although he's been one of their highest offensive contributors so far in the year. So maybe he's just waiting to unleash in the second half. But right now the score is tied 4-4 in this one between the Devils and the Rebels. Sun Devils are in gold and the UNLV Rebels are in white. And Nick Campo looking inside, and a high pass intended across the crease for Nick Peterson, but it wouldn't quite connect. And we've seen that happen twice so far, Brian.
Yeah, it's happened a few times for both teams, a few bad passes, although with UNLV, it's generally been happening when on their offensive series, while ASU have been making their bad passes during their clears because of this hard UNLV ride.
Now Dylan Westfall with it, cautiously working it ahead. Now a home run pass all the way up to Kyle Dennis, and a pass to Ben Davis for the goal. Great work there on the transition offense for ASU. All started with that pass, full field pass from West Court all the way up ahead to Kyle Dennis and then to Ben Davis for the goal.
Yeah, that was just a quick pass, right, and then all of a sudden Ben Davis is sitting in front of the goal with the ball. All he had to do was turn and shoot, put it right behind Matt Smith, giving ASU the edge here 5-4 with 12 minutes in the third period.
And that's a big lead to have right now, seeing as the Rebels haven't looked very offensive in these past couple of minutes, and dating all the way back to about the midway point in the second quarter. However, they will look to build some offense now as Harrison Kruger with it at the top corner of the offensive zone. And Dakota Barracks now in. He's up at the top with it now. Looking to lay a move on his defender. That's Ben Martinick playing defense.
While we've seen a few different offensive sets for both teams throughout the game so far, UNLV is kind of going back to base 2-3-1 right now. So they kind of bang the ball around, looking for opportunities.
And Nick Peterson at the top. I think the most interesting thing, Brian, and Nick Peterson with a shot attempt, and it's recovered by the Rebels. Another one coming from Kruger, and it's going to sail out of play. But, Brian, as I was saying, I think the most interesting thing is the fact that UNLV's had so few players in this game. I mean, you're seeing the same guys on offense the entire game. That must be a tiring session to go through an entire game, especially when you consider they've played back-to-back games in the past 2 days.
Yeah, it speaks a lot for their conditioning and their
game preparation, I would say.
Yeah, definitely. They come out here, they're running well, they're keeping up, despite having to play a lot more minutes than your typical ASU players getting in right now.
And now trying to lay a move, Nick Peterson being well defended by John Little. Actually, that was not John Little, my mistake. 10s and 18s get mixed up. That's Joseph Cosgrove. And now UNLV still trying to get something set up here as Kruger has the ball tipped away from him. And heading back the other end is number 10, Cosgrove. As ASU again on this transition offense, Cooper Piquel gets the pass off, but it won't connect with Ben Davis. That would have been Davis's second great look in this one on the transition offense.
Yeah, that was a great fast break. They got the ball up. Piquel had a great feed right there to Davis. Davis just wasn't quite able to get a hold of it, but they do hold on to the ball here and get another shot.
And a pass, shot fired. Nice save there, though, by Matt Smith, rather. Comes away with a nice stick save there. And now the Rebels will take over possession. And you think about how momentous goalie saves can be, Brian, and a play like that can really turn the game around. UNLV trying to take advantage of that. They are down a goal as it stands right now, looking for the tie at 4-5. And a shot fired. It just dribbled in there. That's from Nick Peterson, his third goal on the day. And not sure where Dylan Westfall's eyes were at there, but he clearly didn't see that one coming through. And this game is tied 5-5.
Well, one thing I can say right there is you were almost precognizant right there. You were just saying how Matt Smith's save right there kind of gives them a little bit of an edge all of a sudden, gives them some momentum, and they took advantage with a great shot right onto the ground, giving them a tie game with 9.5 minutes left in the third quarter.
And now the face-off won by UNLV, another indicator of momentum, as we're under 9.5 to play in this third quarter of action. And the Rebels now working very fast. Another shot fired. This one was a dribbler as well, but Dylan Westfall able to come up with a save. Now looking down the length of the field, coming away with it is Ben Martinick before he's jumped by number 23, Stephen Herman of the Rebels.
Yeah, Martinick went ahead and drew the flag right there, so they're going to try and get a shot off and hopefully a goal for their cause and give themselves a lead and get the man-up play. All they got to do right now is keep the ball in the restraining box and not allow UNLV to force a turnover.
And now setting up with it behind the net is Zach Scarano, but it seems like he worked his way into the crease there. And the refs are going to blow the whistle.
That's going to go and cause a game stoppage, meaning the man-up is going to go into effect right now. So despite going into the crease, ASU is going to get a chance to hold on to the ball with this man-up situation.
A lot of substitutions made by the Rebels right there. And not something you see too often, as they don't have many subs to look for on that bench.
One of those man-up situations or man-down for their in their case. They need to make sure they have the right personnel so that they got the best defense they can possibly have at the moment.
And ASU moving very fast right here, working their way around. And that's a shot there, way off target, though, to the far left of the net. That was number 21, Ben Martinick. However, ASU does retain possession. Just over 8 minutes to play here in the third quarter, and a misdirected pass is going to turn the ball right back over. And now UNLV looks to build some momentum of their own.
Yeah, UNLV is going to have a chance right now to kill this penalty and get the power back to even, so they don't have to worry about losing the lead, losing the tie. That is here in the third quarter.
And you think about it, Brian, what a beautiful day for lacrosse. It was actually projected by the weather people out here in Arizona to be a cloudy one. But clearly those clouds didn't bother showing up today, as this game's 5-5. And the Sun Devils look to take advantage right here. Another flag on the field. As now Payson Clark scores for the Devils, working his way around from behind the net, taking it all by himself. And now the Devils lead it 6-5 over the UNLV Rebels.
And that Payson Clark goal right there, he worked around, came from behind X, worked around the crease, took that one in himself. That's going to go ahead and end the previous penalty that gave them that man up. But another flag on the clear from before is going to keep UNLV a man down still.
In 7.5 minutes to play here in this third quarter of action. And finally, each team starting to develop some offensive momentum. And we're going back and forth in what's been a roller coaster ride of a game, Brian. Seen so many lead changes and differences. But the Sun Devils and Rebels both have done a good job of responding. Nobody's really gone on a long stretch of goals, as that seems to be the identity for this game. Just going back and forth, back and forth.
And despite being on the man up right now, ASU's not doubling the ball. They're just making sure that they don't have a chance inside and keeping an extra man inside. But they managed to force the ground ball right here and come up with it. Give them a chance on offense all of a sudden.
And now going to head back right the other way. They've got numbers, but they'll pull back and set up the play. Behind the net with it right now is number 8, Justin Straker. He already has an assist on the day. And now he works it away to his man who fires on net. That was Cooper Piquel. 1 goal already on the day, trying to make it 2. Wouldn't get through, though, and now the Rebels trying to head back the other way.
Yeah, but good run by number 24 of the Rebels. James White managed to get that ball back to UNLV.
And what a defensive play there, but it's going to result in a flag, as that was number 4, Connor White. The attackman simply trucked as he was trying to drive through the crease and get a goal.
Yep, and committing the penalty on that play is going to be number 12 for ASU. Ryan Page with a big hit from behind. It kept the Rebels from scoring and tying up the game, but it's going to result in ASU being a man down.
And remember, this is an SLC South matchup between the UNLV Rebels, who are in white right now, and the ASU Sun Devils in gold. I'm Trey Lanthier alongside Brian Edwards, and this broadcast is brought to you by the WCBO out here at Arizona State. And Jordan Grant scooping up the loose change from just outside the net. And now Eric Jones with it. Now Jordan Grant going to fire a bouncer, but that one won't get through as Dylan Westfall coming away with a nice save. Good awareness there. Now Ben Martinick trying to lay a move on his defender. Does do so. Works his way inside. Pass on target. And a goal. What a shot and pass there from the ASU Sun Devils. Coming away with the goal was Justin Straker to make this a 2-goal game. Now the Devils lead it 7-5.
Yeah, that was a great play right there by Ben Martinick. He managed to break away from his man just enough to catch the pass for the clear, and then get that break away, force a double team, and get that pass off to Straker right there to get that goal. Despite ASU being a man down right now, it's a big play for ASU.
So now another face-off. UNLV is going to have to try to turn this trend around, because as it stands right now, they're looking at a 2-goal deficit. but they're going to lose this one as well. Zach Handy coming away with a lot of big face-off wins in this game so far.
It was a good job by ASU collapsing as soon as the ball was released for the face-off. And number 28 for ASU came up with the scoop. That's be Jensen Cruz.
And now at about midfield, the Sun Devils starting to work their offense yet again. They're not going to get a transition play, though, as they've been feeding off of that. Clearly, with the depth that these Devils have, it's hard for the Rebels to keep up going back and forth on each end of the field. And that's when you can see the difference in rosters start to make quite a bit of a difference in this game.
Yeah, once you wear down a team, those light minutes, it gets tough for them.
What a save there from Matt Smith. Payson Clark working his way inside, through a couple defenders, and taking a pretty solid shot. But good defensive awareness from Matt Smith. Good hand-eye coordination getting that one. And now right back the other way, UNLV again with a turnover. And it seems to be sliding downhill for these Rebels. And you have to wonder if Coach Darren Gagnon might not be thinking about calling a timeout, trying to regroup a little bit heading into the final stretch of this game. Now the Devils crossing midfield as Logan Quinn with a shot. Another nice save there from Matt Smith. He's been playing extremely well over the past couple of minutes with a couple big-time saves, and his team is going to need him most right now. The defense clearly a bit worn down from the stress of the long games, especially considering they've played 3 games in 3 days after this one's over. And a risky pass there back to Dylan Westfall, almost broken up by a Rebel. But the Devils do come away with it, and now trying to set up the offense again. Zach Scarano heads into the zone. Drops it down to Payson Clark. And finally, the Jets are off for the ASU Sun Devils as they're going to relieve a little bit of that offensive attack and take it a little slower. But now picking up the speed, Logan Quinn, before dropping it off to Payson Clark, who's looking inside, finds a man on the left end. Zach Scarano trying to make a move, does do so and fires, but it's broken up by defenseman. Harrison Kruger was there to make the play.
That was a good move by Scarano. He had a good solid shot, but Kruger was right there to make sure nothing happened. Then UNLV tried clearing it right here and lost the ball. It was met by a stone wall. Wasn't able to break through after lowering his shoulder. And that was number 23 for UNLV, Stephen Herman.
And now a lot of substitutions for ASU, getting some fresh legs out on the field. It's now just a bit of stalling, allowing everybody to recuperate. Get into the zone. 2 minutes, 20 seconds remain in this third quarter of action. And the Sun Devils now own a 7-5 lead in this one. Looking to make it 8-5 as they set up their offense right now. Working around behind the net is number 14, A.J. Schaffner, before dropping it off to teammate Cooper Piquel. Schaffner again with it. And has the ball stripped as he's trying to work around the net. But coming away with the ground ball there was Payson Clark as the Devils recuperate.
All right, ASU just kind of working the ball around. They met a lot of resistance from the inside right in front of the crease.
And right there, they didn't meet much resistance except for Matt Smith himself, who was able to make a nice save down low, where the Sun Devils typically don't target much. And a nice attempt there by the attacker, but it wouldn't go through. Now the Rebels heading back the other way. Kruger, nice job of holding on to that ball. As now Nick Campos with it. Back up top to Kruger. And UNLV is going to set up. Just over a minute to play here. Not much time to work with, but the Rebels scored in the final minute of the last quarter. And they'll look to do it again right here.
Yeah, there's no reason for them to stop. They're down 2 goals right now. They need to get something off and try and get this game closer.
And a goal is scored there. A very much the dribbler. We've seen quite a few of those get through Dylan Westfall's legs. And that was Cody Root coming away with his first goal of the game and cutting the lead to 1. We just talked about it, Brian. The momentum in these games is huge, and now UNLV has cut it to a 1-goal lead for the Devils, 7-6 right now, as Cody Root coming away with a very slow dribbling goal that just got past the eyes of Dylan Westfall.
Yeah, it was a good shot by Root. He shot it hard himself, and it initially looked like Westfall made the save, but the ball kind of fell out of his stick and just dribbled right behind him between his legs, giving UNLV that 6th goal of the game and cutting that deficit down to 1. That's actually going to be Cody Root's 20th goal on the season, and he's the high goal scorer for the team, averaging a solid 2.37 goals per game.
And now working it into the ASU offensive zone is number 11, Nick Hillier, for dropping it off to his teammates. And now the offensive rotation starting once more. 10 seconds remain, though, as Ben Martinick fires and scores with 6 seconds left in the third quarter and makes it again a 2-goal game. What a goal there from Martinick. Great awareness on the clock and really putting his team up 2 goals now. Huge momentum killer for the Rebels.
Yeah, that's a big one right there for ASU, and a big downer for UNLV. Payson Clark with the assist there looked like Martinick kind of came in on a late substitution, tailed the whole play. Nobody was there to cover him. He had a free shot. It was just between him and what the goalie could do with it.
5 seconds, and this quarter will come to an end. 15 minutes between now and the end of regulation, and the Sun Devils are the owners of a 2-goal lead as it now stands at 8-6. But you can't write the Rebels off yet. They've been fighting their way back the entire game, Brian, in spite of the difference in roster numbers. Clearly, this team has a lot of fight in them. Clearly, they're well-conditioned, and they're not giving up anytime soon.
Yep, they have a lot of good goal scorers, too. Cody Root, who scored that last goal for UNLV, took a little while to get on the scene here with any stats, but he's kept them in it. A lot of big plays by other players, including Edgell and Connor White. Nick Campo, their leading point scorer, has had some good feeds and some good shots. This game is far from over as UNLV has the offensive firepower to make this comeback.
And it looks like the quarter break is going to come to an end here as ASU's huddle breaks up. Now just waiting on UNLV. And Brian, the last game we saw here at the women's soccer field ASU was quite the close one as well. Didn't seem like it at first as Colorado had a 5-1 lead at one point, but ASU able to fight their way back into it. For a moment you thought maybe the Devils could complete the comeback, and almost did. They had the ball in their possession with about a minute and a half to play in that one. They couldn't complete it, but still, you can never write a team off in this final quarter of play, and that game itself proved that to us.
Yeah, no, there was a lot of excitement that night. The crowd was kind of quieted, and then ASU started showing some of their second gear. Crowd got back into it. ASU just wasn't able to complete the comeback. That was against a Colorado team led by fantastic goal work by McKinney, I believe it was, who we actually made a mistake in that game of referring to him as Brad Litwack.
It was Bradley McCanney, actually one of the best goaltenders in the nation in the MCLA. So definitely give him a lot of credit for his performance in that one. Seems like a timeout already called. 13 seconds into this final quarter, as one of the coaches must want to make some bit of a change they didn't like in that opening 13 seconds. But Brian, if you are the UNLV Rebels, who are you looking at right now to try to make an impact on the offensive end for you? You mentioned quite a few guys that have been picking it up. Cody Root, clearly an offensive contributor. Nick Campos, though, has been playing well all game long, has a goal to his name. And then Nick Peterson has about either 2 or 3 goals, can't even keep track of them anymore. And these guys have to be stepping up at this point in the game. But who would you look at as the X factor, the guy you want to see performing in this final 15 minutes if you're a UNLV fan?
Honestly, with UNLV, I don't know who I want to look at because they all have so many different people to look to. And the thing about this UNLV offense I've seen today is they try to take those big passes from across the field there on the cutter going across the cage from behind where Westfall's looking. So it really can be anybody, but Peterson, he's been doing great today. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a few more shots, a few more cuts. Campo, he's always a threat to score. Brennan Edgell is probably going to get a lot of those feeds to the middle there, so don't write him off. He might get an assist or two to his name this last quarter right here. And after that timeout from 13 seconds into the quarter, play resumes with ASU on offense.
And ASU now heading right to left, whereas the Rebels are running left to right. And a misintended pass for Cooper Piquel is recovered by Payson Clark. Dropped ahead to A.J. Schaffner. Now in the near corner is number 31, Kyle Dennis. Dennis trying to lay a move on his defender. That's Nick Peterson who on the defense there. Jordan Grant now working on Ben Davis. And a shot fired from Cooper Piquel right into the netting of the stick of number 11, Matt Smith. And you got to admit there, Brian, what a save to keep this at a 2-goal game.
Yeah, that was a big save right there. It was a hard shot off of a good feed to the side there, and Matt was just able to get his stick up and keep that score deficit from getting any bigger.
Well, and Brian, we mentioned this conditioning that this UNLV roster has. Every one of them has laid at least one solid hit without losing the ball on an ASU defender, and they're clearly well trained on how to maintain possession even when you're taking shots, because they've been doing that all game long, especially at midfield when the Sun Devils trying to bull rush these attackers, and they just work their way right through them, lowering his shoulder and taking it on inside. Now working inside with a shot was Cody Root.
That was a good shot, too. Bounced off the left goalpost there, right between the legs of Westfall. That one looked like it was good to go. Just didn't quite find the net.
And now from behind the net, that's number 8, Brandon Edgell, before it works its way back up top to Jordan Grant. Grant now laying a move and a shot, but this one's going to miss wide right of Dylan Westfall in the cage.
That was a good shot by Grant. Looked a little bit forced. He was coming off a roll move there against number 31 of ASU. But it was a solid shot nonetheless.
Number 31, that's Kyle Dennis for the Sun Devils. And now UNLV still with the ball. Gonna need to cut this lead in half on this possession if they want to start building that momentum up. They do have a lot of time to work with, though. 12.5 minutes is an endless amount of time in the sport of lacrosse. Weaving his way through, Cody Root again, but it broken up by Westfall. And Root trying again for that dribbler play that has been working so well, somehow getting right through the legs of Westfall every time. But it wasn't working that time, Brian, and you can tell that Westfall is clearly starting to figure it out there between the posts.
Sometimes Westfall did look a little bit lost throughout this game. He's been ready, and ASU here just lost the ball during that clear, but managed to pick it back up and continue going.
And if that had been in the favor of UNLV, they would have been heading back with numbers. Not many defenders back for the Sun Devils. Under 12 minutes to play now, and ASU's trying to put this game nearly out of reach right here. If they can get a 9th goal here, a 9-6 score starts to be a little much of a slope for the Rebels to overcome.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say that another goal is going to be the nail in the coffin here, but especially since, UNLV does have some great players. 11 minutes is still a lot of time, but 3-goal deficit in the fourth quarter, the way this game's been going so far, could be tough to overcome for the Rebels.
And it'd definitely be demoralizing in terms of momentum. Logan Quinn laying a move and a shot fired, but that one's not going to be anywhere near as it misses wide right. And now the Sun Devils again working inside as Payson Clark, another stick save there from Matt Smith. And he's been playing out of his mind for the past couple quarters. And maybe he has 8 goals allowed to show to his name. But, Brian, he's been doing some work between those posts and keeping the Rebels in this one.
Yeah, but I don't have the exact numbers, but he certainly saved more than he's allowed to go in. He's having a great game back there at goal.
And now the Rebels trying to pull off a couple stunts there before the ball was stripped away. And Zach Mendoza coming away with it for the Devils. Now on the far end with it is Jensen Cruz. And he's working his way inside. It's scooped up and a shot fired, just missed. Looked almost like it'd be good. Goalie out of position. However, it missed the cage entirely, and that was Justin Straker with the shot attempt there.
Yeah, that was actually a fantastic play by Cruz there. I was a little worried at first, seeing what he was doing, being a long stick, taking the ball down to offense. But he got a good pass, a little dribbling pass to the middle, allowing Straker to pick it up and get that shot off. And Cruz actually picked up a foul when he got hit from behind by a UNLV player, creating a man-up opportunity for ASU here in the fourth quarter. And already 2 goals up, that's going to cause some hard times for UNLV here.
You know, Brian, it's something we don't talk about too much is ASU's defensive fame, I guess you could say, or historic fame, rather. Right now, though, Ben Martinick firing again, another stick save from Smith. But, Brian, this historic fame from the Sun Devils in the SLC, the number 1, 2, and 3 guys in SLC history have all attended ASU. And that's Eric Nelson, Tyler Westfall, and Ryan Westfall. And you're hearing a familiar name there, Westfall. Clearly quite the stud family when it comes to lacrosse at ASU. Now heading back the other way are the Devils. But just a quick, interesting note there, Brian, when you think about it, as how dominant this ASU team has been over the years. And this is considered something of a down year for them, being at 7-5 at this point in the year. Logan Quinn passes on the shot, and now it works its way over and scored. Zach Scarano on the pass from up top, and that was Ben Martinick with the assist. Zach Scarano now making this a 9-6 game as the Devils now own a 3-goal lead.
That was just fantastic ball movement. And then, of course, with that final shot by Scarano, he took a nice wind up, got up in the air, real nice and high, took a nice bounce shot right into the corner there. That's a tough save for Matt Smith, who's been playing a fantastic game. He just wasn't able to get his stick behind that ball.
And now this is going to be a tough mountain to climb for the UNLV Rebels. Looking at a 3-goal deficit is never easy at this point. But like you said, Brian, you cannot write them off, as they do have quite a lot of offensive talent. Derek now working his way behind the net is number 8, Brandon Edgell. And back up top to Harrison Kruger. Now number 6, Dakota Barracks, working his way in the near right side. And UNLV taking it very cautiously here. There's no need to look for a goal right away. And patience is the key at this point. Kruger looks inside, and a shot fired is going to bounce over the net there, though. And it looks like Dakota Barracks had the shot attempt on that one.
That was a solid pass from behind the cage, but it did seem a little bit forced. And Barracks managed to field the pass. Unfortunately for him, he just put the ball a little too low, forcing it to bounce high.
And Westfall has given up 6 goals in this game, but he's played very solid through the past 2 quarters, as he's only given up 2 so far since half. And just another historical SLC fact for you, Dylan Westfall's .632 save percentage is the second highest in conference history. So clearly ASU has what it takes to get things done, and they have experience in net with Dylan Westfall. But it seems as though they're not playing up to standard this season. They played a tough schedule, though. They're ranked 7th in the country as it stands right now, and they played some top-ranked opponents, including Colorado State, Chapman, and that was on the road at Chapman, and then at BYU. And those games are hardly ever winnable. And then they ran into one of the best goaltenders in the nation with Brandon McCanney, and that's not an easy one either. So clearly they've been tested very well, and they're going to look to make a postseason run as well. And if they can win their final 2 games, they'll end up with a bye in the SLC tournament, and that could be huge, Brian.
Yeah, it definitely helps out always having a bye, getting that week off. Of course, next week is a big game no matter how you look at it, since that's against the rival Lax Cats down at the U of A in Tucson. That game's actually going to be on the 21st, so that's next Saturday. But it looks to be a pretty good game, since that's going to decide the winner of the SLC. Since U of A is going to be going into it 8-6, they don't have a game this weekend. And their last game is against ASU, and this is ASU's last game before the season closer against the U of A.
And now we've started back up out of the timeout as Eric Jones drops it up top to Nick Peterson. And Peterson at the top of the offensive zone, back to Jones. Hearing a lot of familiar names as these players continue to work it around in that rotation, trying to get something going offensively here. Still looking at a 3-goal deficit. Score now 6-9. As a shot fired, that one ringed off a post somewhere. But coming away with it are the Devils as Dylan Westfall looks ahead to Cooper Piquel.
And a solid clear by Piquel right there. Threw on a couple roll moves to make sure that he didn't get the ball checked away from him, giving ASU another chance offensively to kill this game right here.
And, you know, it's interesting, Brian, that the ASU Sun Devils only have 1 game remaining because the UNLV Rebels have 3 left after this one. They'll play against Cal State Long Beach at home next week, or actually later this week on Thursday. And then that night they'll be leaving for another road game at Oregon, and the next day against Oregon State. So they've had a tough season in terms of traveling. And if you look at it, they only have 2 home games on their schedule altogether.
Yeah, but it's definitely tough for a team when you're constantly on the road like that. There are only 2 games where, again, there are only 2 home games. The first one is against San Diego, and their second home game, which of course you just mentioned, is coming up this Thursday. So out of the several games that they play, to only get 2 home games on the entire season is rough for a team.
And that's never easy to do. Traveling can wear down a team very easily. And the Sun Devils have been fortunate to have as many home games as they have. The Rebels, on the other end, have taken a really tough schedule this time around. But it's really going to help build your team going into the future when you consider how much of an impact it can have on you.
Yep. And beyond just,
And Clark firing and scoring, but flags are down. They'll say the goal stands, though, and this one's going to be a 10-6 game now as Payson Clark works his way inside. Diving effort to fire that one home.
Yeah, that was a nice little roll move there. He dove. Looked like he might have got hit from behind while he was scoring, which I believe is what drew the flags there. But a solid goal, and I think that one might just as well do it for the game. They got a 4-goal lead with only 6 minutes left to play, and UNLV is a man down, so that's creating huge problem for them offensively if they've had problems finding anything happening in this 4th quarter.
Well, it's not going to be an easy comeback for these Rebels, but they're going to try to pull it off the best they can. It's going to be a tough one. And you think about it, a 4-goal deficit, though, is possible. 6 minutes left. Anything can happen in this sport. You just have to start building momentum. It all starts with a face-off, and that right there, a face-off loss for the Rebels, is not going to be good. As now the Devils trying to look for opening offensive setup again. And a shot was fired, but coming away with the rebound was Payson Clark, who's now being faced by consistent pressure from the Rebels, and he turns it over, coughing it up. Now heading back the other way, Harrison Kruger looks to about midfield, but the pass is just a bit off, and ASU's able to break it up. Setting up again in the offensive zone is Ben Davis for the Devils.
Devils going to have a chance to settle down right here and set up this man-up offense. They really don't need to score. They got this 4-goal lead with 5.5 minutes left to play. They just kind of need to kill the clock. Make sure UNLV doesn't quite get another chance.
And A.J. Schaffner now with it. He's got a set of legs on him as he's been speeding his way around the entire game. Now dropping it off to Kyle Dennis on the left side. And now a shot fired on goal there, but it's going to miss wide as Matt Smith on the chase, but the ref's going to give it off to ASU.
That was a close one right there, but Ben Davis was able to outrun him, be closer to where the ball exited by just enough to maintain that ASU possession.
And that was Will Spetter on the shot attempt on that last possession. And he already has a goal on the day.
And in fact, he had that first goal for ASU that tied up the game at 1-1 in the first quarter.
And now Kyle Dennis working his way inside. That shot looked almost as if it would be on, but instead missed just slightly wide right. But ASU's still going to have it as they won the chase. So Cooper Piquel now with it, and ASU starting to wind down that clock, and it's definitely working against the Rebels. 4.5 minutes left to play in this one. And the Sun Devils are leading it 10-6 over the UNLV Rebels.
Sun Devils going back to this ISO we saw earlier today, but they have two guys break up forward. And just kind of seems to be playing around up top, killing that clock a little bit more, and then set up back in that ISO once again.
And now A.J. Schaffner working his way around. And another flag is going to be thrown. Now with the shot attempt is Kyle Dennis in another flag. I'm losing track of these flags being thrown here, Brian.
Yeah, UNLV's having a tough time. That was going to be for a slashing call of the helmet check on Schaffner. They hit him in the head. Schaffner did the right thing, though. He played through it, got him to pass off over to Dennis.
Kyle Dennis.
Kyle Dennis, yeah. So Kyle Dennis, he got the pass out to Kyle Dennis, gave him a chance to get a shot. Shot was a little bit high, but ASU is going to come away with another man-up opportunity with just under 4 minutes to play.
And now the refs scooping up the pile of flags sitting on the field there. As now the Sun Devils will prepare for another offensive setup with a man-up opportunity.
Actually, you know what? They called the second penalty. The Devils are actually 2 men up at the moment. So
well, that explains a pile of flags, Brian. I'm starting to wonder how many you can get on one call.
Yeah, no, there was certainly the helmet check, and then it looked like maybe right after the pass, A.J. Schaffner was hit again. That's why we saw him on the ground there.
Well, as it seems like quick breaks being taken as the refs figured this one out, just a couple of scores from yesterday as UCLA took on Claremont, and that was another SLC matchup, that one in the North Division, though. And UCLA lost that one 1-3. But we're back to action here as ASU starting to work it around. Payson Clark looking for Scarano, who fires. Looked like it might have deflected off the foot of Matt Smith there, but either way, nice play between the posts. However, at a 10-6 game, Brian, there's not much else he can do but try to keep it at a 4-goal deficit. UNLV has had trouble just getting offensive opportunity in this final quarter.
Yeah, of course, getting offensive opportunity is even harder.
And a goal right there, fired on net. That's number 8, Justin Straker. He's been getting all kinds of offensive opportunities so far today, and he puts another one home right there. Sun Devils now lead it 11-6, and that might just do it for this one, as we have just under 3.5 minutes to play, and the UNLV Rebels haven't had much offensive momentum going at all. Devils now leading it by 5.
Yeah, that was just great ball movement all the way around. Getting that ball right to Straker, giving him the chance to get that shot off. He put it right behind the goalie's head. Shot it top left corner. It's always pretty to see those top shelf shots. And of course, since UNLV was 2 men down there after the goal, only 1 man comes back onto the field. But the penalty should be wearing down in a second here, allowing UNLV to even up power.
3 minutes remain in this one, as UNLV does have possession right now. Trying to chip away at that 5-goal deficit they're looking at right now. Cody Root on the offensive end. And a timeout is called on the field.
UNLV is going to go and take another timeout, try and settle things down. ASU taking advantage of the fact that they have a man up, pressuring the man with the ball and keeping another man right in front of the cage to make sure that in case something happens, somebody's there to pick up that guy breaking towards to score. And we saw it work earlier today when ASU had another man-up opportunity. They managed to force the ball away and get a quick score on some good transition ball movement.
And looking around the SLC, a couple matchups that went on last night or yesterday on April 14th. UC Santa Barbara crushing San Diego State 19-4. And San Diego State is a member of the SLC North. And then UCLA losing to Claremont 1-3. Chapman crushing Loyola Marymount 21-3 yesterday. And then Grand Canyon University beat actually UNLV, who's playing right here today. Again, looking at that schedule, it's tough. And then the next game on the scoreboard, again, is UNLV against Arizona. So playing that many games straight is tough for anybody, especially a team as understaffed as this one is. But sometimes you just got to work your schedule around that way, Brian. And UNLV's put up quite a fight in this one, as they've been doing all they can to keep alive. And did a good job of staying in it through the first three quarters. That they only were down 2 goals coming into this one, but they have yet to score in the fourth quarter of play.
UNLV definitely showed that they're a team that has the right pieces. They just don't have enough to keep themselves in it. They got worn down, and ASU was just able to get the opportunities to really blow this one out of the water, taking this 5-goal lead with just under 2.5 minutes to play.
And now Nick Campos trying to set something up, but you can tell that jump in their step just isn't there anymore, as got to be worn down and tired from this 3-game and 3-day road trip. And what's especially tough is knowing that they've got to go back to Vegas, play 1 game, and then that night head up to Oregon to face Oregon and Oregon State in consecutive days again. That's never easy when you think of all the traveling involved there.
Yeah, certainly a tough one for UNLV.
But they've showed so much heart in this one so far. Under 2 minutes to play now. And the Sun Devils trying to wind away the clock.
Yep, Sun Devils actually got a penalty right there, so they're going to go ahead and be man down for about a minute or so here, giving UNLV a chance to maybe get another score in the last 2 minutes of the game here.
And it's important, even when you're down a lot of goals, to try and chip away at that lead, just to build some momentum heading into the remainder of your season. And UNLV has 3 games left on their schedule, and you definitely want to start building that momentum up now and try to get something going for the last home stretch of your season.
Yeah, and despite, this the UNLV playing on the road a lot, they got a little bit lucky this weekend. It's actually been pretty cool weather in Arizona. We got rain just the other day. So, typically Arizona's pretty hot even this early in the year. And playing 3 days back-to-back and hot temperature can really be rough on them.
They did get a nice-looking day today, though, as there's not a cloud in the sky. It's a beautiful day out. And the Sun Devils have clearly taken advantage of that sunshine, as they are leading it 11-6. We're under a minute to play here at ASU's women's soccer field, and it's all but over. As the time ticks off the clock, ASU is just trying to run it down. UNLV just trying to fight them off.
Yeah, don't be surprised if, Payson Clark and company just kind of keeps it behind the back there. Clark and Will Spetter just kind of passing it back and forth. Actually, I'm sorry, that's Zach Scarano. Just keeping the ball away from UNLV, making sure this clock winds down with 20 seconds left.
And now another timeout called by the Sun Devils, I believe. Not sure if the coach just isn't looking to get in some less experienced players.
It's been a great game by Dylan Westfall, of course. He's actually been right on par with what he's done all season. On the season, he's allowing, right around 6 goals a game. That's what he's allowed today, too, just 6 goals. And it's a very solid defensive effort by ASU, keeping the UNLV off the board for the most part, especially in this fourth quarter here.
Well, yeah, and you mentioned Dylan Westfall. On the season, he's 4th in goals allowed average in the conference. His 6.091 goals allowed average is pretty solid there, and clearly he's meeting that average right here, unless barring a last-minute goal from the Rebels. And he's also 5th in the SLC in saves per game. So statistically, Dylan Westfall has looked pretty solid all season long. And on the other end for the Rebels, they really haven't found that solid, consistent goalie, as they usually look to Dustin Sylvia, the freshman, who's played 5 total games this year. But they strayed from him here as number 11, Matt Smith, got the start. And he's played somewhat solid, but with an 8.6 goals allowed average, it's tough to continue fighting back into it.
I can't really put all that blame on him, though. As we saw today, he still played solid even in the fourth quarter here, but his team gets tired and just doesn't give him the help he needs on defense, sometimes allowing ASU to get those easy shots off that go right in the goal.
And the clock will wind down. The Sun Devils coming away with the victory 11-6 over the UNLV Rebels in this one. Fans seem pleased with the effort, as it was an intense game through the first 3 quarters, and near the end of the third quarter it was a 1-goal game when you think back to it, 7-6. But clearly ASU able to break it open by scoring 4 consecutive goals to close out the game. And Brian, looking into the final stretch of the season for both teams, UNLV going to have one tough road stretch again next weekend, whereas the ASU Sun Devils only have to take on the U of A Wildcats, and I say that only have to take on, but that's a tough game, as it is a rivalry matchup in Tucson in not a very friendly atmosphere.
Yeah, they're going to have to play against the SLC Division I leading Lax Cats down in Tucson. It's going to be an intense game. Hopefully we're able to catch that one next week.
And that will be on the road, as the players shake hands right now. And UNLV going to have to take on a game at home and then 2 road games in an Oregon series. Their game at home next week is going to be against Cal State Long Beach at the Thunderbird Sports Complex in Las Vegas. So maybe they can start to rack up a couple wins. Their one home game did result in a victory, 15-4 against the University of San Diego. So they have something going in their favor as far as that goes. Just going to have to start to pick up the pace and try to increase their depth going into the offseason. And you talked about it, Brian. They're a very conditioned team and very seasoned in terms of how to fight in, keep their way in a game. But when you face up against a team like ASU, which is much depth as they have, it's just so difficult to overcome that.
Yeah, definitely making a difference in this game was, the play of Dylan Westfall not allowing a lot of goals scored throughout the game, especially you didn't allow a single goal scored in the fourth quarter, right?
No, he did not. In fact, he didn't allow a goal ever since the one that cut it to a 1-goal lead at 6-7 for the Rebels near the end of the third quarter. So Westfall picked up the pace when his team needed him the most. And you think back to that Colorado game, the last one we watched here, it was the same exact thing. When it got to the fourth quarter and his team needed him the most, Westfall stepped it up and became the goaltender that his team needed him to be. But anyway, that will wrap up our presentation of this ASU lacrosse game. The Sun Devils do come away victorious with an 11-6 win over the visiting UNLV Rebels.
And with that win, they're actually going to improve to a solid 8-5.
Whereas the Rebels will fall to 3-7 with a 2-2 record in conference play. Well, that'll do it for us here today. For Brian Edwards on color, Casey Fier on camera, and Ryan Hess running all the tech stuff, I'm Trey Lanthier. Thank you for tuning in, and hope you have a good day. You've listened to ASU Lacrosse, presented to you by the WCBO.